voice and shout. We're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free. Yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression. It's out for liberty. Breaking free. Yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts. We're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. We're reclaiming our land.
I hate this show. Oh my goodness. Welcome, everybody, to the last Are You Smarter Than a Politician game show of the year. This is the political cage match where bold solutions win and bad ideas get wrecked. Tonight, global decisions are being made far from home, but the consequences hit your wallet, your rights, and your safety. We're tackling foreign wars and intervention, the war business, surveillance, immunity, and policing, and who's really accountable. We're questioning money, inflation, and central banking, financial privacy, and the growing influence of global agendas. Three sharp political minds join us. They may disagree, but one question is, are they smarter than a politician? Joining us again, a four-time champion, my buddy, Jack Danger. He is the host of the Secret America podcast. You can find it on all of the channels, plus Secret America TV. It is 2 days a week, Mondays and I want to say Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can find him at Jack Danger Live on X, as well as Secret America TV. How are you tonight, Jack?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me back. I always love doing this, and it being the last show of the year, we're going to make it a good one.
Appreciate you, buddy. Four-time winner. You think you got it in you again?
We'll see. I mean, I try my best, but I know we got some good competition tonight, so it's going to be tough.
We do. We have three cool guys on, three friends of mine. Also joining us for the third time, Rob Yates. He is a candidate for the chair of LP National Committee. He is also a two-time candidate for mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina. You can follow him on X at ProsperCLT2023, and you can check out his podcast. That's the LP North Carolina podcast, and they have a newsletter as well. Check those out. How are you tonight, Rob?
What's up, Free? I'm feeling awesome. Basically, I'm riding a win streak here. So tonight I will be playing the role of Anthony Joshua, and Jack and Jacob are going to be playing Jake Paul.
I didn't even notice that the Santa hat said Capitals on it. Are you just going to sit in front of the goal and cherry pick like Ovechkin does?
Yeah, 913 times.
All right. Well, that would be a high score. So that's a good strategy. All right. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, his second appearance on the show, another friend of mine, Jacob Winograd. He is the host of the Biblical Anarchy podcast, which I was just on last week or 2 weeks ago. Had a great time on. You can find him on all the channels, YouTube, X, and he is on X at Biblical Anarchy. And he is part of the Libertarian Christian Institute, which is a very great institute. And they're running a fundraiser right now, so donate to them. How are you tonight, Jacob?
I'm fantastic. I'm ready to get back into the ring. And if I lose, I'm just going to, because my last name is Winograd, I'm just going to say that it was because of anti-Semitism or something like that.
How's the fundraiser going?
Good. We are about halfway there. So doing pretty good. If you guys want to go to libertarianchristians.com/donate, every dollar that's donated in the month of December gets matched. And we have a bunch of books coming out next year. We're hoping to make it out to a bunch of events like Freedom Fest. So yeah, if you guys want to support what we're doing, we greatly appreciate it.
I donated. Everybody else should as well. So it's great that you have the matching donors. So now's the perfect time to do that. So go check out Libertarian Christian Institute and give them some of your end of the year money. Also joining us, as always, our producer, the lovely Terry Batts. How are you tonight, Terry?
I'm doing fantastic and so excited for this show tonight. You have no idea. Yay. I'm ready to have some fun, and these are the guys for it. So let's do it.
Are those burnt oranges on your wall? What is going on with those things? It looks like like somebody burnt some stuff.
That's not burnt oranges. That's, oh, for Pete's sake. Go to your room.
I just noticed it. Just noticed the hat. Just noticed that. I'm catching up with everybody here. So you can follow Terry and I on X. I am Smarter Game Show. She is Bats T76. You can get our gear at freedomsuperstore.com. You can follow us also on YouTube and Rumble. Terry will put the shorts up from tonight's show on YouTube tomorrow. So that's youtube.com/@freedomuncut if you want to go directly there. And our Friday shows are sponsored by Xano. If you're tired of surveillance coins dressed up as freedom tech, Xano is the real deal. Open source, enterprise grade privacy, scalable and secure, build, spend, and tokenize any asset without the peeping eyes. Xano isn't just private, it's none of their business. And if you're new to this space, visit intro.xano.org to learn how Xano gives you the power to own your own data, your money, and your assets, all in one simple, secure platform built for real world freedom. And that website is intro.xano.org. And exciting announcements. Are You Smarter Than a Politician is hitting the road in 2026. We're doing 5 live shows at Libertarian Party state conventions, and you can be there. Come meet fellow freedom lovers, watch the show live, and see contestants put to the test. And if you want real change, join your state party, become a delegate, and help shape the national convention. Don't just talk about liberty, live it. Come and see us live and prove that you are smarter than a politician. Thank you to our sponsors. Terry pays to be here. Amity, Ocean Blue, Shirley, Dr. Belay and Lisa, Dan, Chris, Casey, Dave Krantz, Jake Day, Phil Rain, Jacob, who's on the panel tonight. Appreciate him being a sponsor. And Brent Freeman with his Anarcho Syndicate clothing line, which is really cool. If you want to subscribe to us on X and get exclusive content and all these cool things, this is your backstage pass. And if you'd like to sponsor the show, go to studio@freedomuncut.com. That was a mouthful. Let's jump into the chat and see who is joining us. Josh is here. Welcome, Josh. There's Chris. What's up, Chris? And there's Dan. What's going on? And there's Casey. How are you? Shirley joining us from across the pond. Oh, Leslie Batts is here. Welcome, Leslie. There's Patty. Jack isn't very dangerous.
Patty actually loves me.
Yeah, I think that's not true. Kobe's here. Thanks for the repost, Kobe. David Fight's here. Just did his show this week. It was awesome. Check that out. If you want to hear more about the inner workings of how Terry and I make this show, David did a great interview. Appreciate him having us on and the promotion. 200 points to Jacob because LCI is based AF. Travis is here. What's up, Travis? Thanks for the repost. Hey, bud. Brent is signing in from Abu Dhabi, or maybe he's a bot. Who knows?
Oh, Brett's up showing off.
Yeah. is that in a blue state? I'm not even sure. 200 to Rob for giving gnome competition for LNC chair. 200 demerits to Jack. I thought he was going to make a fashion statement. He's not even wearing a shirt with a collar. Ooh, we got fashion points going on already. So, all right. Let's jump into it here. Welcome again to Are You Smarter Than a Politician? Our last show of the year. I think this is show 66 overall. Thank you all for such a great year. Appreciate everybody in the chat and all the support we've gotten. Share this out, please. Help bust the algorithm. And we want to take a moment to offer our condolences to the loved ones of Johnny Mahalski. Johnny was a family man, a man of faith, and someone known for a smile that filled the room. We honor his life and wish peace and comfort to all that loved him. Rest in peace. Also, we wanted to mention that You Are the Power also has a donation drive going on. So give your money to LCI and then give more money to You Are the Power. They also have a double donation drive going on. So check them out. You can find them on X everywhere, or just find Spike Cohen. Rebecca Massey is another way to find it. So yeah, donate to all these good causes. End the year with a bang and help out people doing real hard work that's, bringing us freedom. So do that, please. All right. So we used to have the Ron Paul holding the Ron Paul trophy as our grand prize, but we decided since peace prizes don't mean anything anymore, we were going to reclaim the peace prize. So now we have the Are You Smarter Than a Peace Prize? And this is the grand prize for our contestants tonight. So that's what they will not be going home with, because we never really actually made any of them. Terry, did you put a Santa hat on me? What happened there? Also in the prize shelf is Mike Johnson's signature cologne, Swamp Ass, as well as the Ayn Rand Fountainhead teddy bear. We also have the home edition of Are You Smarter Than a Politician if you want to annoy your friends and neighbors. We also have, if you have a hard time getting your kids in the bath, this is the perfect Christmas present. If you're trying to give your kid the opportunity to become a warlord or, commit war crimes on the open seas, this is the War on Fentanyl bath set. And it's endorsed. It says it's fun to play war criminal, Daddy. So that might be a good gift. Might be a terrible gift. Who knows? Also new today. This is the first time I'm seeing this because we had to pay a tariff to get it. So we just got it in. This is the Trump nativity set. So if you want to make your holidays great again, this is the Trump nativity set. And it says it's great for Trumpmas. I don't think you can really put your name over Christ. That seems like blasphemy, but Trump's renaming a bunch of stuff. So I guess that's okay. So, all right. So that's in the prize shelf as well as the Killdozer Lego set, because nobody talks about the Killdozer more than me and Casey do. Here's how the game works. I am the government. Whatever I say goes. Scoring errors count. Life isn't fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. Nobody cares. Rules are you can debate each other. You can veto, tariff, redistribute answers. Everybody starts off with negative 500 points because the government gets paid first. Here's how scoring works. The chat controls the score. You can give or take up to 100 points from the contestants. And because we are the government and we believe in crony capitalism, subscribers pay us, so they get the advantage of they can give or take up to 200 points. So crony capitalism pays in this case. Nuking the scores. Any former contestant can nuke a score, taking it down by 1,000 points. A contestant can only be nuked once, and it's got to be for a good reason, so use it wisely. Lightning round. I'm going to put Terry in the back. She controls the scoring and the chat. Make her life difficult to end the year. Thank you, Terry. All right. We are starting off with four-time champ Jack Danger to you. The category is preventing international conflicts. Is offensive military action by the U.S. ever justifiable beyond immediate self-defense?
Beyond immediate self-defense, I would have to say no, because that's really it. They expect that from their citizens. So I think we should expect that from them. You shouldn't be doing any military action beyond self-defense, because we shouldn't be the world's policeman like we are now. And, I kind of think that we shouldn't be doing any. Really, nobody really attacks us, so our military should just be here, and that's really the only thing I can think of. There's no other reason that you should be doing it.
All right, Rob, to you. Do foreign interventions create more enemies than they stop?
Obviously, it is our job to be the world police, starting with getting rid of all the narco terrorists. And then I think we're going after Trantifa, right? Because they're a terrorist group operating on our soil. So foreign interventions are clearly a necessary part of American empire building. Go imperialism.
Yeah, they need a bath set or something. Jacob, to you. Should the U.S. stay out of conflicts that don't directly threaten Americans?
Yes. Do I have to add something to that? Yeah, if the conflict doesn't, if the conflict doesn't involve us, then kind of by definition, we shouldn't, at least not with our government, not our military. Now, if you want to send some kind of like humanitarian aid, I think I'm fine with that, right? Now, like if you're trying to send humanitarian aid to Gaza, that might be tough. I don't recommend trying to send humanitarian aid to Venezuela right now. You might get bombed. So, I mean, there's a little bit of prudence there to consider. But as far as what our government and military should do, yeah, if it doesn't involve the direct defense of American citizens, it's not a conflict that, and even then, even if the conflict directly involves us, you got to make sure you're not, truncating the antecedents and kind of like, well, are we being attacked unprovoked, or did we do something to start that? And then it gets a little bit complicated.
Yeah, or your commercial flight might crash into a plane that's got its radar off. That's a possibility as well. All right, Jack, back to you. Should regime change always be off the table?
Always be off the table. That's a tough one. I mean, that can be, it just, I guess it would say, honestly, military action again for us. I'm just going to keep with my answer. There should be no military action that we do beyond self-defense. We expect that of our citizens. So, I mean, regime change should be off the table unless it affects our immediate selves, unless it affects our immediate self-defense. Like if there's some kind of dictator or something that says, oh, we're going to attack the United States, the war is going to be imminent, whatever, then maybe. But other than that, no, it should just be self-defense. That's really the only reason we have the military.
Hey, I got to debate that one.
Okay.
So
I will remove me and Jacob from the screen. You have 15 seconds, and then Jack has 15 seconds. So go.
It is time that we water the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants and affect regime change right here in the United States. All the people who believe in liberty and know where this country came from, because we have a tyrant dictator running our country and he needs to go.
I don't think people know what a tyrant dictator is. They throw these words around so much. Tyrant dictator. The man is not out there killing people. He's not having Americans killed for no reason, okay? He's not out there rounding up certain races and throwing them in concentration camps. This is not
deaths by ICE. 70 people have died, 3 citizens.
This is
no
not
due process. Gestapo.
This is not I'm sorry, but it's not the same as having a dictator. A dictator does whatever the hell he wants. The Constitution and the judges have stopped Trump on many occasions, and he has not gone past those rulings. I'm sorry if you don't like Trump, but he has not gone past the rulings of the judges based on what they say, based on the Constitution. I mean, the tyrant
ignored the Supreme Court and sent people to El Salvador.
No, see, well, I mean, come on, man. That flight was already in. That's not even a real thing. That flight was already in the air. Let's not even do that. But let's be real here. A tyrant does not listen to judges. There are no judges when it comes to a real dictator. You think a dictator is going to have a judge tell him what to do? It's not real. I mean,
he's savvy. He had a judge arrested today.
Oh, well, a judge arrested, for obstructing ICE, actually helping an illegal escape during court. I mean, let's be real. Let's be real here. Come on now. Come on. Dictator. These words are thrown around too much. Dictator, Nazi, all this shit thrown around way too much.
All right. Put your scores in the chat for that debate. Tell us who you think won. And let's see here. All right. We're back in the right order. So I pressed all the buttons in the right order. That's weird for me. All right. Back to you, Rob. Should diplomacy always come before military action?
So, no. Diplomacy is abdicating the function of commerce with another party to the government. That's not their responsibility. The government should have no diplomacy, and military action should be reserved for attacks on the land that they're protecting. And there should be no diplomacy. Here's the deal: you attack us, find out what happens. Otherwise, we have no interest in starting a fight.
I like it. Jacob, to you. Are sanctions a form of collective punishment?
Yes, absolutely. Sanctions actually pretty much universally not only just punish everyone, but they disproportionately punish the most vulnerable and who are most likely to be the least involved in whatever thing you're trying to change with your sanction. Like, even if you were going to argue that, like, from a sort of interventionist, non-libertarian perspective, that you should sanction countries like North Korea or Iran or Iraq, like they did in the 90s, you're not hurting the people at the top. not the most. The people you're hurting the most are the civilians at the bottom who are starving. And you really, you're going to tell me that the people at the top are really going to care that? Like your argument is this regime is evil and does evil things, and so we have to put pressure on them by making their civilians die, and that'll make them change their. It's bad logic. Even if I try to sort of approach it from trying to think about even the philosophical or ethical worldview of someone else who is, pro intervention, which I'm not.
All right. Jack, back to you. Category is ending endless war. Should Congress be required to approve every military conflict?
I mean, I'm going to say yes, but I should also think that there shouldn't be military conflicts again, unless it's for immediate self-defense, like we talked about earlier. Should they have to approve it if it's for immediate self-defense? That's a tough one because it depends on how immediate we're talking. But unless it's for self-defense, there shouldn't be military conflict. It is literally just for America. That's what it should be. That's why our military was made, for the defense of our country.
All right, Rob, to you. Have endless wars made America less safe?
Dramatically. In fact, arguably, and look, I'm far less on the conspiracy theory spectrum on the 9/11 thing. I think we knew about it and let it go for other reasons, but that's blowback. We start fights, it comes back to us. Soldiers getting killed overseas, it's coming back to us. We create a terrorist organization, they attack us, then all of a sudden they're our enemy. Remember when Saddam Hussein was our best friend, or we were funding bin Laden and giving him the weapons he needed to attack us? And then we leave Afghanistan. What do we leave? Something like $70 billion worth of weapons there? Endless wars are fueling aggression against the United States.
Totally agree. Jacob, to you. Should the U.S. stop acting as the world's police force?
I mean, this question's kind of loaded. I mean, I would say yes, but I don't even know if that we're acting as a police force. We're just acting as an empire. Like, we're not really coming in and settling disputes. We're not coming in and like policing the world like, oh, you committed a crime and we're stopping you. That's the propaganda. So I understand there's some use to sort of like pushing back and saying like we shouldn't be the world's police force. But that's really not what we're doing. What we're being is the world's empire, and we're not serving some kind of like grander. Like, we didn't invade Iraq. We didn't do the regime changes and drone strikes in the Middle East. Even what we're doing with our support in Ukraine and Russia, none of this. Same with what's going on in Venezuela. None of this is actually like motivated by people who are really concerned about injustice and are just approaching it with like the wrong mechanism, or there's some kind of like, oh, well, it would be great if we could be the world's police force, but it's just not practical. Like, but that's just the propaganda. So yes, but the deeper question needs to be asked, which is like, should we be an empire? And you cannot be a limited constitutional republic and a world empire.
All right. Jack, back to you. The category is funding the war machine. Are modern wars driven more by profit than defense?
Absolutely. In fact, that is the reason for most modern wars. You've got the oil in Iraq. Actually, you've got the oil in pretty much every country that we go to. I would say 95 to maybe even 100% of the wars have been driven by profit, especially from the military-industrial complex, who, believe it or not, can start wars between the U.S. and other countries without Congress or even the president knowing why the war really started. So they just make up some BS about weapons of mass destruction, and then before you know it, we're in Iraq trying to get their oil. So I would say most wars are driven by profit in the U.S. and other countries.
Did you see my meme? Ignore the headlines, follow the pipelines.
Oh, yes. That's exactly what you should. That's exactly where it is. The headlines are the propaganda. The pipeline is exactly where it is.
Yep, I agree. Rob, to you. Has war become a permanent industry?
Not only has war become a permanent industry, the survival of the military-industrial complex relies on perpetual war. It is exactly the situation that Orwell predicted in 1984. You can exist in perpetual war or perpetual peace, and because the people in charge want to use war as a lever to restrict us through surveillance, through violations of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, Eighth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment. They push these perpetual wars to keep fueling the war machine, to fund the military-industrial complex.
Damn it! Damn you, Rob. Oh man.
All right. Jacob, to you. Should defense contractors influence foreign policy?
No, and in fact, there shouldn't be a foreign policy. There should be, or let's put it this way: the foreign policy should just be, which I think my two fellow competitors have rightly said, is just defense. Like, it should just be, if you leave us alone, you don't invade us, then we'll have no issues. We'll have free trade with all. So there should barely be any foreign policy to influence in the first place. Now, I'm obviously an anarchist. I think that, like, trying to sort of end corruption and sort of like pass laws to limit spending or limit the influence, you're going to have a hard time with that. I get the spirit of it. It's the same spirit like people who think that we can just get money out of politics and limit political donations and things like that from super PACs and from special interests. And I used to think like that too before I was a libertarian. I was a Democrat. I was like a Bernie Sanders guy, and I was moved by that sort of thought and thought, like, well, if we can just remove money from politics, that'll kind of solve everything and get all these influences out of the equation. But the problem is that it's just not realistic. The only viable path forward is to, at the very least, get back to what our actual Constitution authorized in terms of military and government power. I, of course, think that there's flaws there and we need to go even further. But going back, getting our politicians to obey the Constitution is like, the most generous, realistic first step I think that we have to do before anything else can come about.
Now, I wish I was wearing my Make Anarchy Great Again shirt, but I'm wearing my other car is a Killdozer shirt instead. But, yeah.
I just got to say, some of the comments are hilarious. Like, Dan said, he says, Jacob, blink twice if you're a victim of domestic violence. Oh my God, that was funny. Just the way it was. And Rob, you stole those points from me just because you were the one that was talking at the time. So I am next time I'm going to tariff your answer.
And then he got points for saying it again. So,
I know.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's angering. I tell you.
All right. Well, your chance to get points, Jack. Are taxpayers funding conflicts they don't support?
Absolutely. They're funding the wars, not just the wars, but they're actually funding every conflict that, and we don't support any of them. We're not funding just the wars between the U.S. and other countries. We're funding wars between countries and other countries. Hell, that was half of what USAID did. And believe it or not, USAID was just the tip of the iceberg. There are many others that use that money. I mean, when you have NGOs that are supposedly non-governmental organizations but are funded by the government, I mean, that's how you move the money. You take the taxpayers' money, move it through the NGOs, and you fund conflicts overseas. So yeah, we are absolutely funding probably every single conflict out there, if you want the truth. I mean, hell, we fund both sides of the conflicts. And I just want to take this moment real quick to thank Chris for saying, that we do agree on a lot. And I also want to say that I'm sorry for your loss. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. All right. So Rob, to you. Does war spending drive policy decisions?
Yes. And it's more than that. The ability to continue spending on war, to drive war costs, to shove incomprehensible amounts of money to the Pentagon, to the defense industry, buried in all of the Epstein files, black highlighter game. The Pentagon failed its 13th audit in a row. They just throw money at it and they continue making policy decisions and then call it top secret, and we have no idea what's going on, and $1 trillion a year just pissed away.
Couldn't agree more. Jacob, to you, should military aid require voter approval?
All right, I'm going to start getting a little bit more spicier here. I don't think that's constitutional, nor do I think that's principled. I don't think that we should, like, our military should be defending us, period, insofar as we have a military that's raised by a federal government. I would, of course, prefer to just have a more decentralized defense of just an armed populace that form militias and not have sort of a standing military even during peacetime. So, and then listen, you can say that there are worse forms of government than democracy, but just the way that question is phrased, I don't think that military aid is rightly issued. If you're going to even talk about, like, should military aid ever be, like, because I get the sentiment, right? And I'm trying to be fair to the question and fair to people who don't have my sympathies, but it's just like, whether something is right or wrong should never be, just whittled down to, like, well, did the people vote on it, right? I mean, there's plenty of people who voted for the mass deportations and for the sort of abuse of power that we're seeing in the Trump administration right now. That doesn't make it right.
All right. Enter your scores in the chat if you have not done so already. The chat is absolutely hopping, so let's jump in there and see what they think. Points to Jack for the American flag. Jim Bob's here. What's up, Jim Bob? 13-hour layovers are the gateway drug to $150 bar tabs. I'll take the over on your bar tab there, Jim Bob. It's a conspiracy by airport restaurant complex. All right. 200 for the first person to use redacted in an answer. Did somebody do that?
No, but I will next if Rob doesn't steal it from me.
Chris says, thanks for taking the time to say some words in memoriam for Johnny. He was 1 in a trillion. Sorry if you're lost, buddy. What's up, Mark? Hey, all, watching in my mom's hospital room. Sorry to hear that. Prayers to your ma. Hope everything turns out all right there. Don't give Trump any ideas. Yeah, he's got a bunch of them, a lot of them bad. The Trump nativity set is the greatest set in the history of the world. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. 200 Jack, we are not the world's police. Hell yeah, Jack 200. Points to Jack again. Points to Rob for the sarcasm. Points to Rob for the Epstein hoodie. Points to Rob for sarcasm. Minus to Jack for thinking the rules apply to the government. Points to Jacob, stay out of foreign conflicts. Points to Rob for the Capitals Santa hat, go Caps. If it wasn't your wife, I'd say something nasty, but she's a lovely woman. So. Points to Jack, regime change is off the table. Points to the first to say,
fuck the government.
There we go. Points to Jack for sticking with self-defense. Minus to me for enabling debate, but denying me on Tuesday. Dude, you wanted to debate at like 10:15. I was done. That was it. It was just done. I was off the clock. I was just donating my time at that point. Rob going for the sarcasm tonight. Minus to Jack, he's defending bombing boats in international waters.
I did.
Points to Rob for bringing facts. Minus to Jack for yelling in my ear. Jack is the most passionate, and I'm not gonna apologize for Jack. I love that part.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Points to Rob. Points to Jack. No regime change. Points to Jack for the judge arrest. I do agree there. Points to Rob. You won the debate. Trump's deportation policies make him a murderer. No, Jack definitely won. 100 points. Points to Rob and Jacob. Points to Rob for wanting to water the trees. It's past time. Oh boy. We're on another list. Points to Rob. Congress is the bigger problem. Points to Rob for winning the debate. Just because you don't like Trump doesn't mean that Jack lost. LOL. 200 to Jack for showing the ridiculousness of overusing words. Points to Jack for winning the debate. Points to Jacob for being anti-interventionist. Points to Jack, no wars. Radical honesty, Rob. Points to Jacob. Points to Jacob for Scott Horton's book, Provoked on Display. Points to Jacob, no Team America World Police. Trey Parker wants his royalties back. Points to Jacob. Points to Jacob and the Empire. Grumpy's here. What's up? Weapons of mass drugs. Actually, probably weapons of made-up drugs would be more appropriate. Points to Jack. The headlines are propaganda. Points for the first to say defund the military-industrial complex. I think we did that. Points to Rob. Defund the MIC. Nothing more permanent than a temporary government action. Truth, Jim Bob. True. See, Jack, we agree on a lot. Yeah, we talked about that. You got points for it. Points to Jacob. Foreign policy should be defense only. Points for the anarchist with my name. That's fair. Minus to Jacob for the long answer. Points to Jacob. The Constitution is evil and ineffectual. Points to Jack. NGOs are war money laundering machines. Points to Rob for the shirt. Points to Jack for the right answer and the empathy. Points to Rob for the shirt. Points to Jacob. Our military should defend us, period. Points to Jacob for getting spicy. Points to Jacob. Voting doesn't make it right. Points to Jacob for the militias. Points to Rob. Oh, Marcus is here. What's up, Marcus? Appreciate you, man. Check out Black Powder Podcast if you don't do so. Great show. Points to Jack for being second to the answer. Points for the long answer, Jacob. Point counterpoint. Points to Jack for F the government. Points to Rob for the hat. Points to Jacob for being against democracy.
Elf is the worst Christmas movie.
I can't say it. I don't think it's the worst.
Dr. Philip Rain in the house. Points to Rob for the hat. Does it have a tassel? It's probably got fringe and a tassel. It's a cap.
Well, hold on. He also said 100 to everyone who says Elf is the worst Christmas movie. So I'll just say it. Elf is the worst Christmas movie.
I'll say anything for the points.
Points to Jacob for being consistently principled. Points to Rob. The Liberty Tree thirsts and the guillotines sing for traitors. Was that in like Les Mis or something? I don't know.
Phil has gone biblical lately. You should be following. It's awesome.
Sean's here. What's up, Sean? Points to everyone. All right, there we go. The elf thing. All right. All right, let's check the scores. That was a lot. I'm already gassed.
It was a lot.
I'm already gassed. All right, and Rob has jumped into the lead, 26-50. Jack just behind, nipping at his feet there, and Jacob not far behind either. This is turning out to be a good one. Jacob, third place. What do you think so far?
I think I started out slow, but we're gonna get heated up here. So
I think spicy's good. I think that was a good technique. Jack, second place, an unusual position for you. What do you think so far?
I think it's actually, it's going pretty well. I mean, I like how close it is, it makes it more fun. But it's always good, when Rob's here, we have a lot of fun together and free with you. And, getting to know Jacob too is actually really cool. So I always like when there's some people that I haven't been with on there too. So it's fun to have people that I have been on there and then people that I haven't too. It makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like it when you sound like an ANCAP personally. So I'm just throwing that out there. Rob, Rob, first place. What do you think so far?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. Exactly where I expected to be at this point. Coming in strong. It's Friday night. Got a lot to work with today. It's been a crazy week in politics, and hoping to bring a little entertainment to end it. So,
all right, let's jump back into it. Jack, back to you. The category is the Venezuelan war. Should the U.S. stay out of Venezuela entirely?
I mean, if they're not immediately threatening us, then yeah, we should stay out of Venezuela entirely. Right now, I mean, they say that it's the war about drugs and how Maduro is this, drug trafficker. Honestly, that's really none of our business. I really think it's got more to do with the oil than anything else, but we should definitely stay away from it if it's not for immediate self-defense. There's no reason for us to be, messing with other countries. Do other countries come and mess with our oil and our shit? I don't think so.
All right. Rob, to you. Is intervention in Venezuela about oil and control?
So I think it is primarily about control on two levels. I think that Iran and China and Russia to some degree have connections there, and so we want to take away their stronghold in our hemisphere, the way the military thinks. I also think that they can use this as a platform where Trump can just designate anybody a terrorist, and then they can turn their Gestapo police force on people in the U.S. by calling them a terrorist. But I think the selection of Venezuela is also the oil. Obviously, it makes it a convenient and easy target.
All right, Jacob, to you. Has foreign meddling made Venezuela worse?
Yes, it's made every country worse. It's made our country worse. And there's just this great hypocrisy on display. Like, we spent the first round talking about like how if government should exist and have a military, its only job is to defend. its borders, right? Defend its people. And Venezuela is in the position where like its government and its people are like, we kind of feel like we're being attacked, and they're vowing to resist this blockade and what's going on. And it's like, just put yourself in their shoes, right? Like, I mean, just imagine if any other country, imagine if Russia or China came and was doing this to our country. Would we just be, rolling over and taking it? So it's it's not good for us. It's not good for Venezuela in the moment, and it's going to just continue to increase the presence of the U.S. empire in that region. It's going to continue to debase our currency. It's going to continue to degrade our civil liberties at home, and it's going to continue to. Hey, another long answer, but this is what I do. Screw it. It's going to continue to sow hatred of America and the West in more parts of the world. So let's keep going, right? Let's see how much more we can make the entire world hate America.
Yeah, I'm worried about our Canadian friends because apparently there was some maple flavored fentanyl coming over the border that that's why we put the tariffs on them. So like I know a lot of them have boats too. So be safe, Canada. And all right, back to you, Jack. Category is ending mass surveillance. Should the government spy on Americans without warrants?
No, absolutely not. We have, we actually have the Constitution, and we have freedoms here in America, and we have rights, and you cannot spy on us without warrants. I believe that's why even the FISA court was not renewed, even though they're supposed to use that for other reasons. They used it to spy on Americans many times. But no, you can't spy on Americans without warrants. That's absolutely ridiculous. You shouldn't be able to spy on anyone without a reason. And a warrant is what you get for having an actual reason to spy on somebody, an actual reason to surveil somebody. If you can just do it without a warrant, without any provocation, without any probable cause, without any reason at all, I mean, hell, we'd end up like the UK where there's a camera on every corner.
Grumpy, I think you just have to pay the tariff to get the maple flavored fentanyl. I think that's how that works. So
I got a guy. Hit me up after the show.
All right, Rob, to you. Has mass surveillance gone too far?
Well, that's an easy yes, because the instant you have mass surveillance, it's gone too far. The idea that the government should be mass surveilling its citizens, I mean, that goes well in China. It seems like a very accepted thing there. The government should know nothing about us. The famous quote is there for a reason. One of the best lines in a movie. The government should be afraid of its people. The people should not be afraid of its government.
All right. Jacob, to you. Should intelligence agencies face criminal penalties for abuse of mass surveillance?
The people in those agencies should face criminal penalties, and the agencies should be immediately dissolved and replaced with absolutely nothing. So that's my answer. That one can be short.
All right. Jack, back to you. Is privacy essential to a free society?
It's absolutely essential to a free society. I mean, in order to be free, you have to have your privacy. Now, if you want to, you can, if you agree to give up your privacy, like for social media or things like that, you want to give up your own privacy, that's your freedom to do so. But in order for you to have freedom, you have to have privacy. If it's nothing but if every single thing is public, you're not a free person. You're going to be doing things based on what everything sees, what the government sees. You can't be yourself. So in order to be free, you have to have privacy. Yes.
All right. Rob, to you. Has technology made government overreach easier?
So this is a tricky question because obviously, yes, to some extent, government is stealing it. You have the Palantir database, some of the computer programs that they're putting into place and algorithms with AI to search for people. But by the same token, technology might be a way out. Some of the things that we can do with blockchain and crypto right now, we can really create a society that the government simply cannot control. It's a race. It is a race.
Yeah, that's an interesting answer. Jacob, to you. Should surveillance powers be rolled back?
No, surveillance powers should be completely dismantled. There is no reason for the government to have to surveil on any of its domestic population. I guess if you want to talk about surveillance overseas, again, I think that in order for that to happen, you have to have some kind of standing military apparatus, which you know, like unless you're in an active war, which should only be engaged in defensive maneuver. Then you can have limited surveillance teams for tactical reasons. But if you want to keep us safe, then the best way to keep us safe is not to be surveilling the world and sanctioning all these countries and drone striking all these different areas and doing regime change and just none of this makes us safer. The best way to keep us safe is to engage in free trade with all and to increase the prosperity of not just our people but all people, because prosperity and free markets are kind of the best sort of hedge against war and violence, because when you have the rising tide that lifts all boats and the instead of fighting over how many slices, who gets the bigger slice of pizza, you just make more pizzas. This is the way out of all this sort of concern about it is more prosperous. It makes more sense to just not fight when you play that game. So that's the direction we need to be pushing in.
We had a quick development here, kind of a crazy one, but Jim Bob is nuking Jack.
I thought they had to have a good reason.
Your score, well, I don't agree with the reason, but he's got a reason. So he said, you just said the U.S. can't spy on Americans without a warrant. They do it every day.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be able to.
All right, let's skip it. I see Terry nodding, so I think Terry heard me. Don't nuke it. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
We don't question Terry.
Yeah. Well, these come by real fast. So
Terry's the shadow government.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's pretty good. I like that, Jacob. That's 100 points to Jacob for that. That's a good answer.
Yeah,
I like that.
Nobody thinks I'm in charge. Come on now. All right. Yeah, I don't mind you pushing back because these are flying by at this point. So, all right. Back to you, Jack. Category is abolishing all government granted immunity. Should government officials ever be above the law?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, even as someone who voted for Trump, I don't think there should be presidential immunity for him or anybody else like that. Now, if in certain situations, obviously there has to be, but I mean, they kind of blanketed it almost, But no government official should ever be above the law. There has to be accountability for everybody, because if people are above the law, then you have dictators, then you have tyrants, then you have people that can do whatever they want. I mean, if you want to talk about a real dictator, they can take a judge that gives them a ruling that they don't like, cut their head off in the town square. That's a dictator. That's a tyrant. And those are the kind of people that we avoid in America. And that's why they don't. That's why they're not above the law. At least they're not supposed to be above the law. But here in America, it sure seems like there are some that are.
I think there's a whole list of them, actually. Above the law. The diddler list.
We call them Congress.
Yeah. Those guys, those criminals too. Yeah. All right, Rob, to you. Should police immunity be abolished entirely?
All immunity should be abolished entirely. All immunity, starting with government officials, police, prosecutors, judges, elected officials. Then let's go over to corporations. Get rid of the Corporations Act immediately. Get rid of vaccine immunity. You put a product out, you do something, you take an action, you are responsible and you are liable. All immunity gone. The government shouldn't be able to give someone immunity. It shouldn't have that power. It doesn't decide who's above the law. None of them should be above the law. For example, Tom Homan accepted $50,000 as a bribe on camera, and then Trump's DOJ just got rid of it. And that's things that dictators do. Abolish all immunity.
Same with Biden. I mean, you got Biden who says, hey, I offered the prosecutor, I told him that, you get $1 billion if you don't drop the case against my son. Oh, he dropped the case and I gave him the $1 billion.
You're making my point. I agree. Trump and Biden are both dictators.
Well, Biden, I don't know about Trump, but Biden was always above the law. That dude don't see anything. Trump at least gets these people impeach him every chance they get. But Biden, oh no, you can't do it. It's not American.
I set alerts on eBay for the auto pen because the Bidens are going to hawk that at some point. So I feel like if I get the auto pen, then I could just give myself immunity for stuff. Which
hell yeah, pardon yourself, commit crimes, pardon yourself.
Well, I mean, I live stream a lot, so there's probably something. All right, Jacob, to you. Does immunity encourage abuse of power?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, I'm an anarchist, right? I don't believe in the state at all. But it's one thing to come to me and say, Jacob, we need some sort of limited state where we have this like constitution. We have this sort of like these chains around the government to kind of hold them accountable. And I could go like, you know what? I still don't think that's going to work out, but I can recognize that is some kind of attempt at limited government, which I would obviously favor over the alternatives. And, immunity only goes like not having immunity only goes so far. We there are some things that we've been talking about here, which I think are my fellow contestants have been kind of hinting at, and I'm always a little bit like, I don't want to say it in a way that gets us kicked off YouTube or whatnot, but I'll just say this, that like, not having immunity and really having higher scrutiny for politicians is really important. But part of that too is, let me just put it this way: the Second Amendment is, people say it's not for hunting. I'm like, well, it is kind of for hunting. It's for hunting predators and tyrants. So just take with that what you will.
Yeah, thanks for not getting us kicked off of YouTube. We've had Sean Collins on 3 times and haven't been kicked off of YouTube.
I don't. I love Sean, but dude, that guy does not. He does not hold back. Love you, buddy, but you have no chill.
Yeah, exactly. All right, back to you, Jack. Has immunity replaced accountability?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I mean, if there is no accountability for anything, so I mean, it has to have replaced accountability. And it's not even immunity. It's just the fact that there is no accountability. I mean, you don't even have to have immunity in this day and age for anything that the government does at all, because there's no accountability on either side of the aisle, on the right, on the left, in the center. There's no accountability for absolutely anything. Even the people that are arrested, are eventually just released without, any kind of punishment at all. I mean, it's really sad the way things are going now.
Really is. Rob, to you. Should victims be able to sue government officials directly?
I mean, of course. If we actually want a peaceful society that operates and is given the opportunity to thrive and prosper, like a real free market, real reliant on human innovation, then everyone has to be accountable for their actions. No one is above the law, and your recourse should be in courts. Shouldn't matter who you are.
All right, Jacob, to you. Is immunity incompatible with justice?
Someone in the comments asked something about like, does that include, we're all saying no immunity, and they're like, does that include for, whistleblowers? And I think that's an interesting thing to think about. But I think there's a difference between like someone saying that like, I am admitting I've committed a crime, but I want to cooperate with some kind of case to bring people who, like I was conspirators with, the justice. I don't know that that's really immunity. I think that's just like you're making a deal with the people who are the victims to some extent, because we don't. Sometimes it's like people who are like they're being witnesses for like the war on drugs and stuff, like saying they were part of the drug dealing stuff, and like that's all fake crimes that I don't believe in anyway, so it doesn't really apply there. But I can imagine scenarios where what that guy was talking about, where like there's a valid point there to be made, but no, I don't think that like you need I think you need the opposite of immunity. You need to, and again, it's like I'm trying to say it in the most like indirect way possible, but like I remember, like, think what you want about Trump and January 6th and all that, right? But I just remember when people were like on CNN and MSNBC and just all, people being like, I was so scared and it was so scary. The politicians had to worry about the people. And I'm just like, yeah, no, that's actually like the politicians should be afraid of the people. Like that's like the entire American ethos, is that politicians should be afraid of the people. So, that's what we mean by, it's not just a lack of immunity. Like if you're going to argue, again, I want no state at all. I'm an anarchist. But if you're going to argue for a state, then it needs to be like a constant threat of, the tree of liberty is looking rather thirsty right now for anyone who starts to think that they can, use power to gain special privilege or to, privilege other people.
All right. Enter your scores in the chat if you have not done so already. The chat is crazy right now. Grumpy's taking points from Rob for running against Mad Dog and him. Drax reposted. Thank you, Drax. Points to Jack. No more oil wars. Points to Jack. Points to Rob. Points to Rob. Terrorist is being thrown around willy-nilly. I just wanted to hear Free say willy-nilly. Oh, Jesus Christ. What if their shoes stink, Jacob? Gross, but you're right. We are hated for all of our provocations. Points to Jack, get a warrant. Points to Jacob for bringing up currency debasement. Points to Jack for needing warrants. Minus to Rob for dissing China. Really? China? Points, the government should know nothing about us. You have to tell us who, Amity. You've been on the show. Points to Jacob for criminal penalties. Kayla reposted. Thank you. Points to Jacob for dissolving agencies. Yeah, repost if you haven't. We're nearing 2,000, so this is a good show. Thank you. Points to Jack, we must have privacy. Points to Jacob, abolish and replace with nothing. Love that. Points to Rob, government should be afraid of the people even when they're not. Points to Rob for making the case for how technology can enable liberty. That was a great point. Points to Jack because no one else seems to be giving him points. LOL. Jack's got some points. Points to Jacob, regime change and surveilling the world doesn't keep us safe. Points to Jacob for the long form article. Points to Jacob, shadow government Terry. Terry is deep state. That's correct, Dan. We may order the nukes, but Miss Terry pushes the button. That's for sure. I don't even have access. I have an auto pen. That's all I really have. Points to Jack, no government official should be above the law. Points to Rob, abolish all immunity. Points to Jack for the Congress quip. Points to Rob, end immunity. Points to Jack, no one else is above the law. Points to Rob, Trump and Biden are both dictators. Points to Rob, abolish all immunity. Minus to Jack for thinking Trump is not the same as Biden. Points to Jacob, immunity encourages bad people to abuse power. Points to Jacob for always having an open mind. Points to Jack for Biden being above the law. Points to Jacob, our brother Sean has no chill. That is for sure. Points to Jack, no accountability for anything. Points to Jacob, the 2A ultimate answer to no immunity. Points to Jacob, Sean is awesome. Points to Jack, no accountability. Points to Rob for lawsuits. Points to Rob for everyone being accountable. Points to all. Oh, that Liberty lady is here. D, welcome. Points to all three because Lee Stefanik dropped out. Merry Christmas. And New Yorkers vote Larry Sharp. Absolutely. If you're in New York, well, one, give money to Larry Sharp. And two, make sure you vote Larry Sharp. And yeah, Lee Stefanik, one of the worst voting records in Congress, total Trump puppet, somehow keeps getting endorsed and whatever. She's out of politics now. Thank Lord Jesus on that one. Points to Jacob from Janine. She's listening with me and agrees that politicians should be afraid of us. Points to Jacob. His answers are all about the same length as Jack's. Points to Jacob. Good long answer there. Points to Jack and Rob. All right, let's see where we are at. This is flying. And we had a little mix or shake up here. Jack back in the lead, 44-61, but it's really close. 43-50 for Rob and 4,011 for Jacob. All right, Jack, back to you. This is sponsored by our Friday night sponsor, Zano. Appreciate them being a sponsor of the show. The category is decentralized finance. Jack, should people be free to use financial systems outside of government control?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what that's what Bitcoin taught us, and obviously Zano as well, and others. I mean, you are able to use, and in fact, it's amazing that regular people, not the government, but regular citizens of other countries have created their own economy. Basically, they've created their own currency, and they are using that currency to pay each other. And it's even gotten to the point where actual businesses are now taking that currency. I know there were car manufacturers taking that currency like Bitcoin to be able to buy cars. So yeah, you should be able to use financial systems outside the government control, because when the government controls things, it's never anything good. Never anything good comes of it when government controls stuff. So yeah, let's let the citizens have at it.
All right, Rob, to you. Does the government fear competition in money?
The government should fear competition and money. They don't, because they just take it over. Oh, we're not going to have digital currency. We're not going to go digital, but then they introduce the digital coin. Don't worry about competition and currency. They control everything. They step in. What we need to do, again, is accelerate this. We need to take it over. We need a real, totally segregated digital market. Stop using their currency, and then there won't be competition. Their system will just collapse.
And the Fed.
That's number one.
That must have come from the chat.
You know it.
All right, Jacob, to you. Is decentralization a check on financial power?
Yeah, I mean, I think decentralization is a check on all sorts of power, but certainly on financial control for sure. And Bitcoin can play a huge role in that. But we need to decentralize. And we just said end the Fed. Yeah, we need to decentralize our banking system, our monetary system. Monopolies are bad, except for like the most important thing when it comes to like the managing of money. Then monopoly very good, or something like that, I guess is the argument.
All right. Jack, back to you. The category is financial privacy. Should the government track every financial transaction?
No, the government should not be able to track every financial transaction. I know that's their goal. I know that's why they're trying to create that digital currency that, the government, and there are some, don't get me wrong, there are some people in Congress and and governors that have tried to stop such a thing. But the government as a whole, not just in America, but all over the world, want to create central digital currency because, yes, then they can track every financial transaction. And they're going to say it's for your safety. They always say it's for your safety. They want you to trade freedom for safety. And they know that Americans will do that. I mean, it never fails. Americans always trade freedom for safety. But no, they should not be able to look at every financial transaction you do. That's ridiculous. Like I said earlier, without privacy, there is no freedom.
Yeah, like the transaction codes that they're putting on all gun and ammo transactions so they can easily track every gun purchase and, track people down and throw them in jail for 10 years like they did with Dexter Taylor. That's got to be stopped 100%. Mm-hmm. All right, Rob, to you. Is financial surveillance a violation of basic privacy?
Of the greatest magnitude. In fact, perhaps the two biggest violations of privacy. And understand, when I say privacy, this is privacy from the government. The rest of the privacy that you maintain is on you, but privacy from the government, the state weaponizing its monopoly on violence to surveil you in order to control you. And the two greatest violations of that, Free, what you just said, are tracking your firearm purchases and tracking your financial transactions.
Absolutely. Jacob, to you. Has anti-crime policy become anti-privacy?
Absolutely. And this is what I coined, it's the conservative nanny state. And I guess the left has their own nanny state too. But anytime, whether it's social crimes or financial crimes, and most of the financial crimes are just like, people trying to get out of taxes and things like that. It's not even real crimes. But anytime we're trying to prevent crime before it happens, that is a quick road to tyranny. I mean, as Jack has said, he's 100% right. You can't have freedom without privacy. I think our right to privacy and our right to due process, like, these are the most fundamental aspects to individual liberty and to having a free society. And there's something to that saying about letting 100 guilty people go free than wrongfully convict one innocent person. And we've certainly gone way off track of that, to the point now where we invent crimes that aren't crimes, and we have we're slowly chipping away at what privacy we have left, which is why Bitcoin and Xano are great hedges that people who care about such things need to invest in.
All right, Jack, back to you. The category is monetary policy. Does government control of money distort the economy?
Real quick, I do want to give 100 points to Jacob because that was a great answer for privacy and due process. Absolutely, the foundations for freedom. I will say, can you put the question was, does the government control of money distort the economy? Is that what you said? Government control of money. Okay. Yeah. Does the government control of money distort the economy? Absolutely. I mean, you can't have an economy where it's absolutely where you can judge it correctly based on government control of money, because the government controls the interest rates. They control, I mean, you got the Fed that controls the interest, and not really a governmental organization, but it is. I mean, let's be real. So you got the Fed that controls the interest rates. You got, the government that controls all the spending and the buying, which affects the economy massively, like with inflation, when you overspend and overprint money. The government control of money distorts the economy so bad to where it's actually the government that puts us in recessions based on their control of money. And that's just, it should not be the case. That's why we've got to have these decentralized, things like a Bitcoin or a Zano or Doge or whatever else that you like out there. We've got to have these decentralized, our own citizen-made economies.
All right. Rob, to you. Has inflation been driven by government decisions?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And when we say inflation, what we really mean is devaluing of currency in this context. And I mean, the Federal Reserve is just destroying the value of your currency. The one stat I like is that in 1971, a house cost the same in gold that a house does now, the average house, but it costs something like 10 times more in dollars. The Fed prints money. Our money's worth less, and it is destroying value for everybody.
Totally agree. Jacob, to you. Is money printing a hidden tax?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's somewhat a worse tax, and I've mentioned now, I mean, at least probably 5 times, kind of like the obnoxious vegan, that I'm an anarchist. That's what but I'm going to keep doing it. But even if I wasn't an anarchist, or either way, like if you're trying to get to a minarchist or an anarchist society, I think that there is a reasonable conversation about like what particular order you do things in. And I have just gotten so tired of Republicans and conservatives who focus so much on tax cuts, because to me, it's like cutting taxes without first cutting spending and fixing the monetary policy. It doesn't actually do anything other than this. It makes people then blame the total shit show that comes after that on the whenever we try to cut taxes and decrease government regulation in the economy, and then everything falls apart and everything gets expensive. And I mean, they're wrong. They don't understand free markets, but this is a real danger. And this is why I think that obviously I don't abolish the IRS and replace it with nothing. And I don't believe in taxation at all, but we could lower the taxes a lot and then still have an even bigger government, because they could just print more and borrow more. And it is still a tax by effect when maybe you get to keep more of your money, but you can buy less than you could before. So it's absolutely a hidden tax. In some ways, it's worse because of that.
All right, Jack, back to you. Category is the Federal Reserve. Should unelected officials control the money supply?
I just want to say hi, Kat. Thank you for the team, Jack. I really appreciate it. And no, obviously, unelected officials should not control the money supply because they have no accountability. They don't answer to anybody. And when it comes to anything that has to do with the whole country, the people should have some say in it in some way. And if these are unelected bureaucrat officials, like all the middle managers out there that control policy at this point, then, I mean, we have no say in it. They can do whatever they want. We can't do anything about it. We have to rely on other people to stop them, not the citizens. So, no, they shouldn't have any control over our money, especially if they're unelected.
I can torpedo Kat being on Team Jack. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah,
sure. What? No, we don't want that. I love Kat. We don't want to do that. Why? Why would you do such a thing?
Who do you like better, the Gators or the Seminoles?
I like the Seminoles. Are you kidding me?
Oh boy. Oh boy. That was slick. That was slick. I'm Team Gators on that one. All right. Rob, to you. Does the Fed enable reckless government spending?
Yeah, I mean, I really think they're two separate issues. Right now, of course, that's where they're printing all the money that they're then paying to blow up children overseas. They spend way more than they take in taxes. But the reckless government spending is going to happen. They'll figure out a way to do it. The Fed is just the current engine and happens to be the one that, affects our ability, our spending power the most. But to get rid of government spending, you got to get rid of government.
That'd be cool. I'm down with that. Jacob, to you. Is the Fed too powerful to be held accountable?
We already name dropped him, so I'm going to do it again because I think I'm just going to literally tax Larry Sharp's answer. It's a point he's made, which answers this question. He always says that we should start by saying audit the Fed because it's a much lower ask. And then if you ever got enough support for that and got people to pass a bill or some kind of referendum that said to audit the Fed, and then that wouldn't work because the Federal Reserve is kind of this part of this kind of shadow apparatus that is kind of too big to fully control or to regulate or to reel in. That would then, white pill or red pill, whatever, color pill you want to describe that with, that would then wake a lot of people up to the realization that oh, wow, this is a problem. And then you would get the wide spread support you need to end the Fed.
Larry Sharp's a wise man for sure. Back to you, Jack. Category is Representative Thomas Massie, the great representative out of Kentucky. The question is, does independent thinking matter more than party loyalty?
Absolutely. Party loyalty doesn't, there honestly, why is there even parties? It should just be based on your own policies and your own thoughts. When you vote with a party, you're not voting for, your own independent critical thinking ideas. You're just voting for whatever the hell the party leaders tell you to do. So absolutely, independent critical thinking, your own opinions and your own votes matter much more than party loyalty. Parties, it's a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, they don't read the bill and then they just vote the way they're told to vote.
Exactly.
Rob, to you. Are lone dissenters necessary in Congress?
That's a tricky question. Right now, all hail the great Thomas Massie currently for being the only person in the entire federal government who appears to have principles. But we need a lot more than lone dissenters. We need people that are going to start following the Constitution just to start. That's a really good start. And then we need people that are willing to, and I don't know how you do this, because the only person that's given up this kind of power or stayed on principle that I can think of since Thomas Massie was Washington when he didn't take the third term. But we need people that are willing to abdicate their power, and that the people that go into politics tend to not have that virtue.
I agree. Jacob, to you. Has Congress become hostile to debate?
To real debate, yeah. They're always good at the political theater, right? But other than when they're, I guess, debating Thomas Massie or Rand occasionally, there's kind of the theater and fake debate, and then but when it comes to debating real things, it's become hostile to it. Although it's, I think we're getting some wins just because it's harder for them to kind of get away with it now. We're able to, because of the sort of decentralized nature of the media and kind of the independent, media space that's emerged from the podcast sphere. I think that we're able to fact check them more, and we're able to kind of, even if they're not going to have that kind of transparency and open debate and dialogue on the floor, it's not even, it's not that big of a deal anymore. Same thing with the presidential debate. I know the LP and libertarians have long been saying we need to get, our guy into the debates. And not only do I think that's never going to happen, but I just think we're kind of past the point where we necessarily need that. So they're hostile to it. I don't know that it's necessarily a problem. I actually think it's kind of it's good that we can kind of more easily wake people up to the fact that the emperor has no clothes.
Great answer. Add your scores in the chat if you have not done so already. Reshare the stream if you don't mind. Let's see if we can get more people hearing these great answers. Let's jump in the chat and see what's going on. Kat reposted. Thank you, Kat. Welcome. Gozano. Yes, absolutely. Love to Terry. What are we talking about here? I have no idea if any. I lost track about it 45 minutes ago. Cat's on Team Jack tonight. 200 for finance outside the government.
Thank you, Kat.
200 for the first to say on the Fed. I think that
was
happened. Points to Jack for decentralized money.
I got to beat Rob. I'm sorry.
Team Jack. Points to Jacob, decentralize it all. Points to Rob, we need to exit the dollar and transact in parallel currencies. 100% Brent. Free Dexter Taylor, absolutely 10 years for assembling a gun is stupid. I'm sorry, but I left and FSU basketball game, but Jack is on fire. I apologize for FSU. They're terrible. And points to Jacob. Monopolies are always bad. The Gators beat them. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Points to Jack for privacy. Points to Rob. Good answer. Points to Rob. The state is monopolizing violence. Points to Jacob. The nanny state is rife on both sides of the aisle.
Real quick, Free, before you continue, can I say one thing real quick?
Go for it.
I am going to have a talk with you and Amity after this, because if you go, just from my own edification, if you go down the scanning here, you'll notice that she has given 200 points to both of them every single time. The only time she mentioned my name was a minus 200. So I'm going to have to talk with you and Amity after the show.
That sounds like you want her to nuke you. That's the way that comes off.
She basically is at this point.
All right. No, she loves you, man. That's
I got Free to say willy-nilly. You got to know how to work it.
Yeah. Yeah. As you know, I'm not in charge. So, but that's, that's
no, I love you and Amity. I'm just kidding, man. You guys are awesome.
You know, there's the whole libertarian anarchist stuff and all that, but
Amity, I was only kidding. Don't get mad at me now.
Points to Rob, financial privacy is supreme. Points to Jacob for the Xano shout out. Points to Jacob, privacy and due process are fundamental. Points to Jack, absolutely amazing answer. Points to Rob, trying Fed policy to price of gold, tying price Fed. Let me just start that over. Try. No, it is trying. I think it meant tying Fed policy.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Gold housing. All right, so I'm not that far off. The Fed is killing us. Points to Rob. Points to Rob. Fed printer, go Brewer. Points to Jacob. Money printer is a tax. Points to Jacob. Anarchism's better than veganism. That's 100% right.
With a low bar.
Yeah, that's a really low bar. Points to Jacob. Make anarchy great again. Points to Jacob for the air quotes. Points to Rob for understanding inflation. Points to Jacob for letting us know he's an anarchist in every answer represents. He's not a vegan either. I think he's mentioned that a couple times. Points to Jacob. Hidden makes it worse. Points to Jack for the Seminoles. LOL. If you only knew. If you only knew. Freeze taking his role of the government too seriously. I don't really take very much seriously. Points to Rob. Get rid of the government. Points to Jack for win at all costs. Points to Jacob for taxing Larry Sharp's answer and for giving answers as long as he does. God bless Larry Sharp. Points to Rob and Jacob. Points to Terry for appearing on the Aiming Up podcast next week. Yeah, make sure you tune in and check that out. She also just did an amazing appearance on Sean Collins' Buds in Reality podcast, and she was amazing. So make sure you go back and check that out.
Also,
Wednesday.
Really quick. I mean, you already plugged that you were on my show, Free, but I had Brent on my show recently too, which people should definitely check out because that was a great conversation on our, well, my Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, but I guess right below that is anarchy. So that we talked about.
All right. Yeah, Brent's awesome. And Brent's got a good show too, so check Brent out. Points to Jack for being against party loyalty. Points to Jacob for taxing Larry Sharp. Points to Jack for independent thinking. Points to Rob for all hail the great Thomas Massey. Points to Rob for Massey. Points to Jacob for political theater. Minus to Jacob for the 10,000 word essay. LOL. Points to Jacob for the 10,000 word essay. So that evened out. Points to Jack for supporting Trump in a roundabout way. Points to Jacob for decentralization of the mainstream media, but that's a slippery slope, bro. and minus to minus to me because I can't speak. I know I can't read. I can't speak. You know, I got all the problems. I went to public school. What are you going to do? Well, I went to Catholic school, then public school. Got the worst of both of them apparently. So, all right. So, wow, this is tight. This is cool. I'm loving this. Rob kept the lead 63-50, Jack 62-61, Jacob 61-78. This is getting hot. We've got spicy categories coming up, so this is going to be a lot of fun. So
this is the closest I think I've ever seen a game before at this far in.
This is wild. We've got factions, like it's like America, and I'm like the government. Like it's almost like we had designed it this way. All right. Jack, to you. Category is Agenda 2030. Is Agenda 2030 more about control than cooperation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw in the Agenda 2030 commercials where they said you'll own nothing and you'll be happy about it or whatever the hell they said. It's absolutely about control. You can't have an agenda without control because that is your agenda. You want your agenda to be, what happens. And how do you get your agenda to happen? It's about control because, I mean, who the hell's going to cooperate with whatever the hell they want? It's insane. Some of the shit they want you to eat bugs, they want to get rid of cows and stop them from farting or whatever the hell it is. They're absolutely out of their minds, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get you to cooperate.
All right. Rob, to you. Should Americans reject policies written by unelected global planners?
Yeah, Americans should reject policies written by unelected global planners, by unelected American bureaucrats, by elected officials who have been bought and sold by their donors and special interests, and by anything that violates our rights. And coming full circle, that's why we have the Second Amendment.
Ooh, like I said, it's getting spicy. I like it. Jacob, to you. Are international goals quietly undermining local decision making?
Absolutely. This is actually something you and I talked about on my show, Free, and it drives me absolutely insane. And I noticed this, like, especially there were many things that the COVID lockdowns made us aware of in terms of just like problems in our current sort of economic and political structures. But one of them was just like how completely ass backwards our like economy is when it comes to like food and resources. It's just like, 90% of my food is coming from halfway across the world, and there's all sorts of like government interventions causing that. Because I'm an anarchist, right? I'm for maximal free trade, right? But I think while you can have free trade, it's kind of like if you live in an area where food can be grown near you and a variety of food can be grown near you, you should do that. But like I live in Pennsylvania, let me tell you, everyone here grows corn and soybean. And we might eat a lot of corn, but I guarantee you like 90% of the corn that's grown here is not used for human consumption. Same with the soy products. And there's all sorts of like, local laws that are added to the sort of like top down stuff that like tell people you can't collect your own rainwater and you can't like grow your own foods and you can only have one chicken per household. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. And, I would give a 20,000 word essay on this if I felt like I wouldn't lose a ton of points for it.
I just think it's good that you came out of the closet of being an anarchist. So no, I think it's good to point that out because like there's misnomers about what it is and you're applying it. So I appreciate you doing that. Jack, back to you. Category is United Nations 2030 project. Should the U.S. withdraw from UN programs tied to domestic policy?
The U.S. should withdraw from the UN in general. I mean, the UN is absolutely ridiculous. In fact, I believe we are the UN. Don't we fund the UN? We fund NATO. We fund pretty much everything there is out there. We definitely need to withdraw from any kind of cooperation with the United Nations for every possible reason, not just, if it affects our domestic policy. The United Nations is ridiculous. It's a farce, and we basically are the United Nations.
Rob, to you. Should U.S. tax dollars fund UN initiatives Americans didn't vote for?
I mean, again, kind of a trick question there. there shouldn't be U.S. tax dollars, and there shouldn't be. Well, there can be a UN. They can organize all they want, but there should certainly not be country level representation in it, and definitely not from America in some way that claims to have power over us.
All right. Jacob, to you. Does the UN have too much power over sovereign nations?
This is the first time I'm going to critique the question, which I've tried not to do like last time, but I don't think that a lot of these nations are sovereign, and I think that's just like needs to be said. It's all kind of theater and show from my very anarchistic leaning perspective. But yeah, I mean, the UN has way too much power. I agree absolutely with what Jack said, that like the UN essentially is kind of just America, right? Like a good comparison, it's kind of like Star Wars, right? It's kind of like, the Galactic Empire still had like the Senate, and they would like meet and say things, but like, did they do anything? Did they have the power to overrule the emperor? Not really. And that's what America is, right? We're the world empire. And the entire, I mean, just look at like the entire situation with Israel. Like the entire UN can be against Israel, but at the end of the day, Israel faces zero consequences for what they do to the Palestinians or to their neighbors, because America's got their back. So yeah, I could quibble about the question a little bit, because I feel like, what does it mean to be sovereign, right? And I don't think there's very few countries and nations in this world that truly have their own sovereignty.
Or maybe the question was brilliant and I got exactly the answer I wanted.
Yes. It's actually
playing 90D chess, and you just got checkmated right there. It's entirely possible. Jack, back to you. Category is Islam in America. Should peaceful religious practice ever be treated as a security threat?
See, this really bothers me, because no peaceful religious practice should ever be treated as a security threat. But I don't consider Islam a peaceful religious practice. I consider it a cult ideology, not a religion, and therefore it should not have religious protections. Islam is only peaceful when it is the minority. When it becomes the majority, it is absolutely a conquering and killing ideology, not a religion. So if the category is Islam in America, Islam absolutely should be treated as a security threat.
Can I debate this?
Yep, absolutely. I will remove Rob and I from the screen. Jacob, you have 15 seconds, and then Jack has 15 seconds. And go. Whoops, that was the wrong button. And go.
All right. Yeah. So listen, I am a Christian, so obviously I'm not pro-Islam. But to just make it like entirely just very generalized statement that it's, Islam is always violent and always conquering and always evil, like you seem to be saying there. I mean, Islam in the Arab world have not been coming over here and dropping bombs on us and overthrowing our countries for the last 50 years, like the supposedly Christian nation that America has been doing to that region. And in fact, they didn't always used to hate the West. They didn't always used to hate Christians and Jews like a lot of them do now. Our own foreign policy has fostered a lot of this radical extremism. So I just think that you're oversimplifying the sort of calculus about Islam. And I'm saying that from a Christian perspective.
Well, when you have a religion that is built on conquering and killing, you might say that I'm oversimplifying this. Islam has been conquering, raping, and torturing other countries for thousands of years. It's not just a thing just for the last 50 years that they haven't hated Americans. They don't hate the rest of the world for no reason. They do it. They do it because they want to in their own religious text, they want to conquer other countries and force them into Islam as their religion. That's why they've spread out in mass migration. That may not be something you want to believe, but that is the case. Now, at the time, sure, you might see some Islamics out there, Muslims that are peaceful people. And it's obviously not a blanket thing. There's not every single person. It can't be for every single person. There's always exceptions to rules. But when I'm talking about Islam as a whole, Okay, they are a peaceful religion when they are the minority. When they are the majority, they show you their intentions.
I could say
And
the
you
same
can
thing
say
about
whatever you
Christian
want.
nations, and I can look at European history.
See,
and
no,
how
no,
much
but
wars there
we're
were
talking
there.
about Islam in America. We're not talking about Christians. If you want to talk about all other religions, sure. You want to talk about the Crusade, you want to talk about whatever you want, fine. But I'm talking about Islam. The category is Islam in America. And there is a reason they act the way they do. There is a reason. Let me give you this, okay? Get this right here. Since the 9/11 attacks, there have been 65,000 Islamic terrorist attacks over 70 countries. Believe it or not, among the 5 major religions, I think it's Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, and there was one more for some reason I can't. It's not count off the top of my head, but they actually account for 2% of all of the religiously motivated terrorist attacks. The other 98% of religiously motivated terrorist attacks all over the world is
This is easy to say when you only want to look at.
No. I said religiously motivated terrorist attacks. Islam, 98%.
Christian Zionism is essentially
98%. How can you argue with that?
No. The problem is that you only want to look at terrorist groups that are labeled terrorist groups.
So we're not looking at the
governments. Ignore when governments are basically indistinguishable from terrorist groups.
Islam was trying to take over the whole world for thousands of years. That's why Vlad had to slaughter them. I mean, are you kidding me?
And there were nation states that were Christian that were trying to take over all of Europe, and that also tried to do a bunch of and colonization.
You're trying to bring a debate to other religions. I am talking about Islam in America. That is the category. I'm not talking about other religions.
The issue is that you think you're an authority over what Islam is.
I never said I was an authority. I just happen to know. I told you statistics. You don't want to believe those statistics. You can gladly look them up after the debate.
Yeah, people can look up those statistics. They can also look up that there is, just as in, listen, within Christianity, I have to deal with the fact that there are, millions of Christian Zionists.
Why are we bringing up other religions again?
Because it's comparing how religion works matters. You're trying to evaluate Islam based upon how some people.
Have you ever read the Quran? Have you actually read the Quran?
I've read the Quran.
You've read the Quran, so you know that it is actually a conquering religion. It is supposed to spread Islam.
This is like people who think that because there's parts in the Bible that say that if you don't bless Israel, that you'll be cursed. That means you have to support Israel for all time. So the problem is you don't know how to read religious texts and understand that there can be.
So I don't know how to read religious texts, but I can read statistics. I mean, that's basic. That's basic math right there. I mean, you want to talk about Christianity? See, you want to talk about government as a whole, but you don't want to talk about the fact that there have been 65,000 Islamic-related terrorist attacks over 70 countries in the last 25 years. 65,000!
Every attack on Palestinian people, on Arab people, is basically easily defined as Christian Zionist and Jewish terrorist attacks.
There's just no... I mean, you can't talk to somebody that doesn't listen.
I agree.
Told you it was getting spicy. We're ending the year with a bang here. So, yeah.
Was that a Muslim terrorist joke?
I like that.
Don't hit me
that's
up
200 points to Rob right there.
Yeah, don't hit me up on my pager right now, please.
And I want you to know, Jacob, that we don't take anything personally here, man. So I mean, even if we debate, I still like you as much as the next guy.
I was just matching your energy. It was fun.
It's actually more fun that way, I think. I actually like that. See, usually when I do a debate, people don't fight back that hard. That was fun.
Yeah, it was good. All right, Rob, to you. Has fear of foreign extremism justified domestic overreach?
Insert boogeyman here. Is it Muslim terrorists? Is it Christian fundamentalists? Is it MAGA? Is it dark MAGA? Is it Trantifa? Is it? I mean, whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to invent something for you to be afraid of. We went from like, hey, there's narco terrorists, and everyone's like, no new wars. This is the peace president. And then said, oh, but the narco terrorists, fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction. Like, what? And people just eat it up. Yeah, they will find whatever they can to make you afraid so that they can not just justify. This is the crazy part. It's not even look the other way. half the country, depending on whether their guy in the clown suit is in charge, is leading the charge. And yeah, we're behind it. We need to kill those narco terrorists. We need to blow up these whatever terrorists. It's all nonsense.
All right, Jacob, to you. Has counterterrorism policy weakened religious freedom at home?
Yeah. I mean, this is the whole like the Patriot Act, right? This is like the we have to fight them over there, otherwise we we'll have to fight them over here, except but we also have to be spying on you constantly and have control over, like, I mean, even like the economic stuff, right? And being able to track transactions and whatnot. People say that that's partly for not just like seeing what, like, making sure people don't like cheat on their taxes, but like for security reasons too, and to be able to watch how people are funneling money and things like that. So yeah, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, which is that like anytime we get into the mindset of we have to prevent the acts of aggression or evil like before they happen, like we have to be constantly going around like not just like, again, there can be like people who you can have a system in place for where like people might know something and they can report information, like give leads to people to investigate, but that's different, right? Like you can have actual leads that get investigated versus like just being constantly scanning everything you can, just look, because then what happens is that people then I mean, anyone who has flown since 2001 knows that like has the TSA actually stopped any terrorist attack, or had they just invaded millions of people's privacy?
I gotta agree there. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I too agree. Jack, to you. Should religion ever be grounds for surveillance?
I mean, I'm going to say, honestly, I'm going to say no, because when I talk about Islam, like we were talking about earlier, I don't consider religion. I consider it an ideology. So I'm going to say no, religion should never be grounds for surveillance. I mean, your religion and your religious practice, especially if it's peaceful, it's part of your freedoms. I mean, that's why there are religious protections.
All right, Rob, to you. Is collective suspicion incompatible with a free society?
No, in fact, we need collective suspicion of anyone who would choose a career in life in law enforcement to assert their authority over you. 100% required for a free society. We have to suspect and be suspicious of them as collectively as you want.
Jacob, to you. Should Muslims in America have the same civil liberties as everyone else?
Yeah, 100%. Either everyone is free or no one is free. You the minute you have opened Pandora's box to say that because people believe something that the government can restrict their rights, then like, well, first of all, it's the same thing when a lot of MAGA and conservatives were arguing that like trans people shouldn't be allowed to own firearms because like, oh, they're mentally ill. And listen, I'm a Christian conservative. I have opinions on that subject, which would not make a lot of more progressive minded people happy. But I pointed out to them, I was like, oh, so you want to give the government the ability to classify an entire group of people based on their beliefs as mentally ill and then take away their rights? I was like, imagine if there was a group of people who said that they had a personal relationship with someone who lived and died over 2,000 years ago, and that guy came back to life and now he lives inside their hearts. And so it's like, yeah, like you don't think that would be easily argued to then be like, religion and Christianity is a mental illness. So yeah, sorry. It's like, you just have to bite that pill. I know that like freedom comes with a cost, but the cost of freedom is far more preferable and tolerable than the cost of trying to centrally plan society.
All right, back to you, Jack. Category is ice overreach.
Actually, can I debate that real quick, please?
I want to go back and I want to go through one more category. So we have 3 questions left in this one. So let's just blaze forward.
All right.
Category is ice overreach. Has ICE been given too much unchecked authority?
Unchecked authority. Yeah, I would say they've been given too much unchecked authority. Even though I am for deportations and I am a Trump supporter, I still call out things when they have gone too far. And I do think that the ICE has too much unchecked authority because they have been arresting people that are legally here, that are citizens, and they have arrested people that should not be arrested. And yes, they haven't really been held accountable for it. So I do think they've been given too much authority.
All right, Rob, to you. Should ICE be required to follow full due process protections?
ICE shouldn't exist. ICE should be required to disappear. We need to deport ICE. Let's start arresting all of them. Forget worrying about due process. Get rid of ICE.
Jacob, to you. Should nonviolent immigrants be detained at all?
No. And like, there's a whole problem with our criminal justice system where we detain people just for when they're charged, and that's a whole other separate topic we could get into. But no, like, this is if someone's being again, this gets into just like legal positivism versus believing in natural law. And like, there's something broken in a lot of Trump supporters and conservative people's minds where I will hear them talk about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and American values and say that, like, our rights come from God. They're inalienable. They're bestowed upon us by our Creator, right? But then as soon as we're talking about immigration, it's just like, well, due process is for citizens, right? And like, oh, but they're here illegally, and it's like, but like, in order for you to even know if they're here illegally, you'd have to do due process. So that's an argument for due process. But second of all, like, just because a government passes a law doesn't mean that it is like an objectively good law, right? So like, either laws have to be an appeal to some greater morality and concept of objective rights, or you're just a legal positivist.
Debate, please.
Hang on. Like I said, let's just finish it up. I've got
All
one
right,
more
I
thing I want to do.
I'll have you on my show, Jack, and we'll just do like an hour debate there.
That'd be fun. That would be fun, actually.
That would be badass. All right, enter your scores in the chat if you have not done so already. Please reshare if you haven't done so. And lots going on in the chat. Points to Jacob for repping Jesus. Points to Jack, eat Z bugs. Points to Jack for forced cooperation. Points to Rob. The second protects the rest. 2A to the grave. Points to Rob. Points to Rob for consistently wanting to break out of the pieces and get down. Points to Jack and Kat. Points to Jacob about homestead regulations. Points to Jacob for being an anarchist. Points to Jack, remove the UN. Points to Jacob for calling out the nonsense and not being able to collect your own rainwater. Points to Rob, the UN can exist, but we should not be involved. Points to Jack, we are the UN. Points to Jacob for the Star Wars reference. Points to Jacob for questioning sovereignty. Points to Jacob for the Star Wars thing. Points to Jacob for calling out our greatest ally. Points to Jacob for trust the plan. Points to Jack for, again, referencing Surah 9. Points to Jacob for the debate. Points to Jack for the debate. Points to Jack for the Vlad shout out. Points to Jack for the debate. Points to Jacob, governments are indistinguishable from terrorist groups. Points to Jack for winning the debate. Points to Jack for the passion. Points to Jack for the passion. Points to Rob for insert boogeyman here. Minus to Jacob just because I disagree from real life experience. Props to Jack. He knew he was going to get pushback. Points to Jack. Points to Jacob. What's up, Reasonable? Thanks for joining us. Points to Jacob and the Patriot Act. I just got here. What's this channel about? It's about chaos and arguing and all sorts of awesomeness. So you're in the right place. Points to Jack, Kat, and Dan. Minus to Jacob. I do support cheating on your taxes. F the government. Points to Jacob. No surveillance. Points to Rob for clearly explaining how ubiquitous the boogeyman is used by government against us. Points to Jack for religious freedom. Points to Rob, be suspicious of power. Points to Rob for collectively being suspicious of law enforcement. Points to Rob for getting close to a Patrick Henry quote. We have two Democrat parties. That is for sure true. Points to Jacob. Everyone is free or no one is free. Points to Jacob for individualism. Points to Jacob for biting the pill, Zulu or something.
Gosh.
Oh,
Zail
boy.
Zulu.
Points to Jack for coming in with a debate boner. Liberty on the Rocks, Pittsburgh's here. Great organization.
Hey,
Check
love
them
you-
out.
Love you guys.
Points to Rob, deport ICE, LOL. Points to Rob for getting rid of ICE. Points to Jack for winning the non-debate, LOL. Points to Jacob for due process for migrants. Points to Free for learning how to read. Thank you, Mike Scott. Thank great guy, Mike Scott, and I hate him a little bit right now. And trust the plan is what ostriches do when they're scared. That is for sure true. Let's check the score before we go into this last one. This is spicy and hot and all of that. Jack in the lead, 87-11. Rob right behind, 86-50. Jacob still within striking distance. Let's check out the last category here, which is, I got to add it to the stage. Pick one.
I like that. That's good. I like that graphic.
Thank you. Thank you. Jack, to you. Best way to address extremism: law enforcement, intelligence work, community engagement, foreign policy changes, or education?
Boy, I'd have to say community engagement, honestly. I mean, if you can, engage the community and you can get them involved and get them to, they can know what to look for. But not even just that, you might be able to squelch extremism if you have community engagement. If you get people to feel like they're part of the community, that can actually squelch the extremism altogether. I mean, it's a tall task, but it can be done.
All right, Rob, to you. Foreign military aid leads to escalation, stability, dependence, corruption, or conflict.
Conflict, corruption, dependence, and escalation. When you pay someone to start a fight, you incentivize them to start a fight. We're pumping foreign military aid into some of these countries who get very aggressive. All of a sudden, everyone starts looking like an enemy. It's real easy to pick a fight when you got America's big weapons behind you.
Jacob, to you. Best way to end endless wars: congressional declarations only, automatic funding cutoffs, troop withdrawals, diplomacy first, or alliance reduction?
I don't know that any of them would be sufficient on their own, but I think that the constitutional declaration, getting back to that war, has to be formally declared by Congress, and that I can take my anarchist hat off for a second and put my constitutionalist hat on. And the idea behind a declaration of war being done by Congress is that it's appealing to a tradition of just war theory to say that this is the case for war. And even if maybe there's an emergency, right? You're attacked and then the president has to command troops to fend off an attack. And then you go before Congress, which is, again, I disagree that they're true representatives of the people, but just within this system, it's at least attempting to grapple with this idea that war should not be just something that government can just do without having some kind of it needs to justify that act. So that would be a good first step to reining things back, is to be absolutely insistent that there can be no sustained military war efforts without that declaration. Which, I mean, it's kind of already there and they just ignore it because the Constitution is not worth shit. But sorry, I had to put the anarchist hat back on.
There you go. Jack, to you. Best way to respond to Global Agenda 2030: reject entirely, participate selectively, rewrite domestically, ignore quietly, or fully adopt?
Reject entirely. Agenda 2030 is not anything that is for you that you're going to like. It's basically forced cooperation, like we talked about earlier. It's something, like we said, they want you to eat bugs. They want you to own nothing and be happy. They want you to basically be net zero. And in order to be net zero, they would have to kill a lot of carbon, and you are the carbon that they are going to kill.
Very true. Rob, to you. Surveillance program should be publicly known, classified, time limited, audited, or approved?
So the surveillance programs currently in existence should be audited and then shut down, and no new surveillance programs should ever come to be.
I agree. Jacob, to you. Primary purpose of policing: public safety, law enforcement, crime prevention, community service, or order maintenance?
So I want to preface this by saying that I don't believe in public police, and I think we should privatize policing. But the only job of policing should be the enforcement of law, and it should be like legitimate laws, which means that like there's an actual victim, which means an actual aggression has been committed. So if an actual aggression has been committed, and there needs to be a rightful response to that, then there's a role for people to be, a private police force or private law enforcement to come in and to uphold justice. That's it. That is all they should ever be contracted to do.
All right, Jack, back to you. Counterterrorism policy should focus on individual behavior, foreign threats, ideology, religion, or communities.
Wow. I mean, you could make a case for all five, but if I'm going to say one, I'll say individual behavior. I want to say ideology, but I'll say individual behavior, just because, I mean, it is your behavior that determines whether you are a threat or not. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you're engaging in some kind of high risk activities that could be considered a serious threat, an immediate threat to any country, then yeah, I would think that, that would be the case. But you could make a case for all of those, honestly.
All right, Rob, to you. Qualified immunity should be abolished, limited, reformed, maintained, or expanded.
It should be abolished, torn down, set on fire, and thrown in a deep burial pit, and then covered in everything that the nearby city sewers have to burn and smolder on the ash piles of history of terrible ideas that humans have had.
Absolutely. Jacob, to you. ICE authority should be limited, defined, expanded, reduced, or eliminated.
Eliminated entirely. Again, I'll do the both and. As an anarchist, I think that all these sort of government programs should not exist. And like I like the Constitution as a marker in history that was a step in the development of liberty, but I just don't think it's the best way to secure liberty and peace and human flourishing. But if we're going to put now the constitutionalist hat back on for a second, the only reason that the federal government should have any constitutional right to enforce any kind of movement across the national border is in a state of war from an actual foreign invasion. And no, yes, listen, I understand that there are NGOs and UN organizations and the Biden administration, and that they intentionally flooded in millions of immigrants here. That is abundantly clear. And I'm not trying to say that didn't happen. And I'm not trying to say there's not negative consequences to that, but it's not an invading army. Okay. They're not coming with guns to overthrow our government or anything like that. So, the federal government has no right to have any jurisdiction in regulating the movement of people outside of stopping an invading army. And if there's going to be any constitutionalist argument for any kind of immigration control, it should be decentralized. It should be, handled by a state to state basis.
Man, I would love to come on your show. We would have so much to talk about. I swear that would be fun.
See, I'm making connections here where we can talk about liberty stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jack, back to you. Biggest threat to gun rights: global disarmament efforts, federal regulation, state laws, court rulings, or cultural shifts?
I mean, honestly, again, you could make a case for all of them, but I'll say global disarmament efforts if you want the truth, because globalism seems to be the cancer that is taking over many countries now. And it is what is asking for stricter gun laws. They want to take guns away from away from citizens that legally have them. They want to make legal gun owners not be able to defend themselves while criminals can go. I mean, what are they going to say? The criminals are going to say, oh, I wanted to kill this person, but I don't want to break the gun law, so I'm not going to go print a 3D ghost gun. I'm not going to go across the border and get me a gun from that country. No, I don't want to break the gun law just to kill these 20 people that I wanted to kill, so I'm not going to do it. That's obviously insane. So I mean, the global effort to disarm countries is the biggest threat right now, because it's not just happening in America, it's happening in Australia right now. And I realize there was a terrorist attack. There's terrorist attacks all over the world. You don't rip guns away from law-abiding citizens. You realize that if Australia had law-abiding citizens carrying right there, they could have stopped those terrorist attacks. By the way, I have an excellent stat for you guys. Did you know the FBI, Biden's FBI in 2024 reported 0%, but I believe it's the Crime Prevention Research Center did a study, and it was actually armed citizens stopped 48% of shootings last year with firearms. 48%, and obviously Biden's FBI reported 0. So I mean, take what you will there.
The biggest threat to our gun rights right now is DEI Barbie, aka Pam Bondi, Mr. Take the Guns First, Due Process Later, Donald Trump, and the entire ATF.
Oh my gosh!
ATF once again. ATF should be a corner store.
Well, I don't care about the ATF. They should have been abolished, for Waco and Ruby Ridge and all that other
what
stuff.
do you guys have against automatic transmission fluid?
we warned you about Pam Bondi. We warned you down here in Florida. So yeah, she's terrible. And
Pam Bondi is in favor of red flag laws. That was shocking to me. I was like, what the hell is she doing, man?
She passed the red flag laws down here in Florida.
I am 100% for red flag laws for every politician and every government agency.
If you run that's why we should Rob Yates should have red flag laws. He is a candidate, so he's not allowed to own a firearm.
Oh, they could. I got a bunch. They could come try.
Yeah. I don't like their odds there. All right, Rob, back to you. War funding should come from taxes, debt, cuts elsewhere, emergency funds, or voter approval.
So this is a bit of a tricky question. If things were the way they were intended to be, war funding would come from voluntary. I mean, people would give money to protect themselves. And that's going to be probably after eating and drinking water and breathing your highest priority. If someone's trying to invade the country, you will fund the war efforts. You will probably join the war efforts. As far as things go now, they keep taking them from taxes and from printing more money. We shouldn't be starting foreign wars, so there should be no war funding overseas. And it's a problem that takes care of himself.
Jacob, to you. Primary goal of the justice system: punishment, deterrence, rehabilitation, restoration, or public safety?
It's restitution. Like that's the primary goal of the justice system is restitution, and the rest of those things there are like tools, or they're either tools that can be used toward restitution, or they're like secondary elements of the idea of justice and law enforcement. But it's ultimately about like that aggression has been occurred, and that's wrong, and it has to be righted, right? If you stole from someone, then that person is a victim, and the victim needs to be made whole again, needs to be returned to a if it's possible, you need to return the victim to a state like that's similar to how they were prior to being victimized, being aggressed against. Obviously in some cases, like if someone was SA'd or assaulted or whatnot, then that takes on different forms. But it's about restitution. Restoration can be good as well, but restoration has to come after or be part of the process of restitution, I think.
All right, Jack, back to you. UN influence on domestic law should be none, advisory only, non-binding, conditionally accepted, or enforced.
Absolutely none. The U.S. shouldn't have any influence on anything. I mean, I thought their whole goal was to, protect the nations that are in with the whole council or whatever it is. I don't know. But I mean, honestly, I don't even know much about the UN because I don't think it should be a real thing. I mean, the UN, like I said earlier, is America. We've funded the UN this whole time without getting any help from any other country. I mean, we basically tell the UN what to do. And I mean, like I said, we are the UN. It's basically it's the US, not the UN.
All right, Rob, to you. Surveillance without warrant should be banned, limited, emergency only, allowed, or expanded.
Banned 100%. And I see the chat feels like I've been pretty anti-Trump, and I'm proud of that. Thank you. But I also want to point out that it's tough to say Biden because he had Alzheimer's and didn't really know where he was, wandering around most of the time. But his administration set the stage. They took the Patriot Act and put it on steroids and was the most aggressively controlling administration we've had yet. The Trump administration is taking to the streets and their Gestapo is enforcing that surveillance state on the ground. But their attempt to have a Ministry of Truth, their attack on free speech in social media, they're arresting people for praying outside of an abortion clinic. I mean, the Biden administration was like, hey, the Patriot Act gave us all this horrible power. Let's see how far we can push it.
All right, Jacob, to you. Who should control money supply? Market forces, Congress, central bank, Treasury, or an algorithm?
I mean, market forces, which is just a sort of free market term for just like the people just control their own money. And like, what, just to kind of piggyback on all this, like, pro versus anti-Trump stuff, like I have always had this like back and forth thing with Trump. And I actually did vote for Trump in the last election. And I've given reasons for why I did, and I've given reasons for why I've kind of come to regret that decision.
Think of the alternative, brother.
In large effect. But I feel like, I understand where the pro-Trump crowd was coming from to some extent, even where libertarians were somewhat amenable to wanting to support Trump, because whenever Trump was a candidate, he would often say the right things. I mean, Trump was in some ways a poor man's Ron Paul in 2016 in a lot of the things he talked about, including bringing up the Federal Reserve. And then again, in this last presidential election campaign, not only was he doing a poor man's Ron Paul, but Elon and the whole Doge idea, they were literally quote tweeting like Ron Paul and saying like, and all these ideas were getting their heyday. And so like, I don't blame people for looking at the choice between Kamala and Trump and going like, well, Kamala looks like an unmitigated disaster and Trump's making promises that he might break, but like, even if he fulfills some of them, maybe some good will come of that. I just wish that there were enough people. And I think Jack has shown that he's willing to at least criticize Trump when he thinks he's wrong and is not like one of the Trump supporters who is just sort of like, always like, 9D chess, back breaking mental gymnastics to justify everything Trump does. But it's like Trump talked a big game about this exact question about like deregulation and freeing the economy. And I'll give him credit that he's done some deregulation, but deregulation doesn't help offset the debasement of the currency, of asking the Federal Reserve to once again lower interest rates and continuing to expand and accelerate the warfare state, which is, directly connected to our monetary policy.
All right, last three questions of the night. Jack, to you. Government neutrality towards religion should be absolute, limited, balanced, conditional, or flexible?
Well, I do believe it should be absolute. We both know my stance on Islam, as I said, is I don't believe it's a religion. I believe it's an ideology. And for that reason, I do think that their stance on religion should be absolute. It should be religious freedom. That's why there are religious protections in America. And everybody should be able to practice their religion peacefully. Yes.
All right. Rob, to you. Immunity exists to protect officials, taxpayers, government power, efficiency, or authority?
Immunity exists to protect government power. And if you follow immunity, this is one of my pet peeve issues, and the extent to which they will abuse it. There was a case, I think this was like 2017 now, where two CPS workers lied to get a kid out of the home, tried to place the kid somewhere else. They got caught and they got prosecuted. And their defense attorney actually asked that they should have immunity for lying because they believed something was wrong. Immunity creates the only situation, and CPS is a perfect example, where you are actually guilty until proven innocent. The officials play judge, jury, and executioner often, and they face no consequences for it. There's no reason for change. I don't know what the original intent was, something stupid like every rule that we deal with, but it exists solely to protect and to hoard and consolidate and spread government power.
All right. Last question of the night goes to Jacob. Best way to avoid new foreign conflicts: non-intervention, diplomacy, trade engagement, military deterrence, or alliances?
I'll just quote myself from earlier. It's trade engagement. I mean, non-intervention is the correct foreign policy. The best way to incentivize and sort of make people, like, even if they're not, listen, most people are not going to be philosophically non-interventionists. Even a lot of the like America First types will talk like they're non-interventionists or isolationists, but then kind of show that they're willing to make exceptions to that rule. But to incentivize people, even if they're not philosophically inclined or they had bad philosophy, to be non-interventionist is to maximize free trade. Free trade makes it so that going to war is just like a cost that is way too high, that like it is always going to be cheaper and more beneficial to solve whatever problems that might occur between groups of people in two different places through peaceful means. And I don't like the word diplomacy because, once again, I am an anarchist, but through conversation, right? To harken back to Charlie Kirk, who was not an anarchist, but who I think was like a Christian man who had a lot of wise things to say, who I think was like directionally correct on a lot of things. He was like the essence of Western civilization is that we believe in conversation over force, and that when we stop talking, then the only option that is left is force. And I, as a Christian and a libertarian, I think that we obviously need to reject force, and that's why we need more conversation, we need more trade, and we need more liberty.
All right. We have reached the end here. Enter your scores in the chat. Tell us what you thought. Tell us who you think won. And let's jump into the chat one last time here. Liberty on the Rocks Pittsburgh says thanks. If you can attend a Liberty on the Rocks, they're all over the place, so check out their website. Points to Jack for community engagement. There's never been a good war or a bad peace, Benjamin Franklin. Great quote. Points to Jacob, good answer. Points to Jacob for F the Constitution. Points to Jack, reject 2030. Points to Rob, no surveillance. Points to Jacob for a good answer. Points to Jacob, F the Constitution. Points to Jack, stop to eat, but Jack is still on fire. Points to Jack. Points for abolishing ICE. I wonder if Jacob is an anarchist. He's definitely not a vegan. I think we found that out. Points to Rob, abolish it. Minus to Rob, and points to Jacob. I volunteer to moderate a Jack and Jacob debate on If by Whiskey. Yeah, Jake Day would do a great job.
We can do
that,
both shows. It would be awesome.
Yeah. You guys should just fight everywhere. It should just spill out into the street, you know?
Well, see, the one thing I loved is that he matched my passion on that debate, and that's rare. I like that.
Yeah. Smart guys. It would be fun. Points to Jacob, anarchist burp. Points to Rob, shut down the surveillance programs permanently. Points to Jacob for saying anarchist again. I'm hammered. Points to Rob because I haven't given him points in a while and he's doing well. Points to Jacob because he's an anarchist who's willing to steel man the constitutional position. Points to Jack. Points to Rob for abolish the ATF. Points to Rob for DEI Barbie, LOL. Sweetheart deal for Epstein Bondi. Yeah. Points to Rob, DEI Barbie. Points to Rob for dragging that anti-2A mango tyrant. Points to Jacob for the red flag laws for politicians. Points to Jack and Jacob. Points to Jacob for red flag laws for the government. Points to Rob for anti-Trump views. Points to Jack, we are the UN. Points to Rob, no surveillance. Points to Rob for being an equal opportunity presidential hater. Points to Jack for pro-Trump. Points to Jacob for voters' remorse. Points to Jack for being pro-Trump but recognizing his faults. Points to Jacob, good previous answer. Points to Jacob for nuanced view on Trump and MAGA. Points to Rob for not bending. Points to Rob, immunity is abused by those in power. Points to Jacob for top shelf answer every round. Points to Rob, love the enthusiasm. Points to Jacob to help him get his first win, hopefully.
Hey.
Points to Jack for including all religions but recognizing Islam is not a religion. Points to Rob, no immunity. Points to Jacob for Ron Paul. Points to Jack. Another 200 to Rob for the DJ Santa's elf look. Points to Jacob for tying in Charlie Kirk. Points to Rob, your answers are consistent in principle. Great show tonight. Points to Jacob, I think he said peaceful memes, but I heard peaceful memes.
No. The memes can be spicy and aggressive.
Jacob won 100 to him, but Jack and Rob were great. These three seem to agree on more than they disagree. That's the whole point of the show is we agree on a lot. We just need to find the solutions. Points to Rob for coming on If by Whiskey next week. Great show, everyone. Points to Jack for a great show. And I'll give you all the same scores because I just got here. So, all right, let's see where we landed. Oh, wait, I got to do the drum roll. Hang on a second. I got to find stuff. I do this to annoy Casey. I think everybody knows this, but Rob squeaks out the win. 10,749. I don't ever remember going over 10,000. We had two go over 10,000. Jack with 10,311 and Jacob right there 9927. Great game tonight. Jacob, third place. You were that would have won any other night. What did you think, man?
I just think that I mean, this was, I think, not any shade towards Amity and Derek. I think that we were sort of like three friends who all just kind of mostly agreed on with one another. Whereas this one, again, there was a lot of agreement, but more contrast. So I think it really kind of like raised the level of everything. So it was a lot of fun. I will be looking for my first win, I guess, sometime in 2026. But you know, I think that the audience is the real winner tonight because this was, again, really great show and just glad to be part of it.
And plug your show and plug the fundraiser, please.
Yeah, so I'm the host of the Biblical Anarchy podcast, and I talk about all the stuff I was talking about tonight. You know, I try to make the Christian case for a free society. Of course, I work for the Libertarian Christian Institute. This is our flagship book, Faith Seeking Freedom, and we're actually working. Actually, it's done. We're just in the publishing phase now. The second edition of this book, and I am one of the authors on it. That'll be out sometime mid 2026. But to help us, not just with that project, but the rest of the things we got going on, shows, articles, books, events. If you want to support kind of that mission of exploring the intersection between faith and politics from a libertarian and Christian angle, libertarianchristians.com/donate is again where that fundraiser is. Every dollar donated in for the rest of the year is matched, and we're about halfway there last I checked. So any support you guys are able to give to us is greatly appreciated.
Appreciate you doing this, man. Check out Jacob. That's the Biblical Anarchy podcast. You can find it everywhere. And he is Biblical Anarchy on X. And make that donation to the Libertarian Christian Institute. I made mine already. Do so and get those matching funds for them.
And then donate to You Are the Power too, because Spike is doing great work in terms of, I think, living out libertarian Christian principles as he's now, I think, 1 year since he committed his life to Christ. So just awesome to see what he's doing out there in the world to make a difference.
Did you see him ministering to Lenny Dykstra the other day? That killed me.
No, I didn't. I was like, I think I told Terry I'd been sick for like the last week and a half, but I got like the special like Beyonce has to sing flu medicine so that I could make it for this appearance tonight.
Oh, appreciate you playing sick, man. Yeah, and You Are the Power, you can find them at youarethepower.net. They're an amazing organization that's fighting government at all levels and doing amazing work. So thanks for the shout out to them as well. Appreciate you doing this, brother. Jack, an unusual position for you, but second place. How you feeling, man?
That's I'll just say this. I'll say the scoring tonight was a little odd. And I think we spoke about it earlier. But anyways, I do want to say that I appreciate being able to do this. It's always a lot of fun, and I appreciate the passion from the other two tonight. It makes it a lot more fun when it's like that rather than just two people talking in monotone voices. It's just not really that. But this was a lot of fun. I got to say, this might have been one of the most fun shows that we've done, and we've done a lot of them together. So I really appreciated it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and like Jacob said, the audience was the real winner tonight.
Yeah, you needed your boy Josh to be a subscriber is really what it came down to, because he was given 200, but it could only give 100. So
okay,
that's where that fell apart. All right, so you can check out Jack on Secret America Podcast. They're everywhere. They're on Mondays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. Follow him on X, Jack Danger Live, or Secret America TV. Appreciate you, brother. Great show. And talk to you in the new year and have you back on, man.
Yes, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You Free, you Jacob, and you Rob, and everybody out there. It's a great way to end the year. I mean, I think this was actually, like I said, one of the best shows that have ever been done on Are You Smarter Than a Politician? So it was a great way to end the year. So I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I prefer greatest show on the history of the internet, but I could go.
Well, this episode we'll say is the greatest episode.
Rob, you came away with the win. What are you thinking, man?
Don't call it a comeback. You can see I had 3 times winner down there. I knew it was coming. I might have to change my name to the 98 Bulls now. Just dominant. I don't know. Maybe I'm retiring. I got to decide. I will probably be going to Disney World. I don't know. It's a lot of fanfare. I'm really caught up in the moment. In all seriousness, I got to thank Jack and Jacob. Jacob, I don't know if you remember, but we were on like a debate discussion early in the year. I wasn't super familiar with you before that, but I followed you a bunch since. And what you are doing to advance the liberty movement while staying true to your beliefs, but making it very clear that you don't want to force them on someone else is inspiring. We need more of that to spread things. And Jack, I don't know what I need to do to convert you, because you're like 98% based and then you just get caught up. I don't know why, but we'll keep working, because since we last played and we've gotten to know each other, you're a good dude. Free, Terry, thank you so much. Everyone, Merry Christmas. Just one, like, I hope not too obnoxious public service announcement, but holidays are tough for a lot of people. Like, keep an eye out for friends and family when they're hurting, people that have lost someone. It can bring back some memories, and certainly that can affect people when they get down. So enjoy the season, feel the joy, and try and spread a little bit of it. And check me out, Prosper Charlotte, PROSPERCLT 2023 on Twitter. And I am running for LNC chair. That might make me certifiably insane. I'm okay with that, but reach out at any time if you want to know what I'm thinking about it.
You can follow Rob on X at Prosper CLT 2023. Check out his podcast, check out his newsletter. If you end up being a delegate, check out his platform for running for the chair for the LP National Committee for chair. And appreciate you, brother. And I think after 3 wins, you go play baseball for 2 seasons. But I'm from Chicago, so I think that's where that goes. Let's add Terry back here. What'd you think, Terry?
I said this was going to be fire tonight, and yes, it is definitely fire tonight. So I really appreciated it. Oh, I've got the free disease. I really appreciated it, and I know the chat did. They kept me very busy, and I love that. I will be on with Brent next week. On I believe it's the 27th or maybe the 28th at 6:00 Central Time, and we'll be discussing I don't know what. We're just going to talk, so that should be interesting. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Sending out the love. Believe it or not, chat, I'm going to miss you guys. I really will. That's sad, but I will miss you guys. I'll talk to you later.
And just real quick, I want to say you can follow me and Terry on X. I am Smarter Game Show. She is Bats T76. You can get our swag at freedomsuperstore.com. Check out the shorts on YouTube tomorrow, youtube.com/@freedomuncut. Thank you again to Xano. Your privacy matters. Choose Xano, the leading blockchain platform that prioritizes confidentiality and security. And if you're new to the space, check out intro.xano.org. A lot of great information there. And I want to echo what everyone else has been saying, which is, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. It's been such a fun year. We appreciate everybody. And as you all know, my little thing is peace, love, and anarchy. We are smart people. We can rule ourselves. We don't need them. And anarchy would bring us peace and love in abundance. So appreciate you guys shouting that out all night tonight. But thank you so much to the chat for all of the year of awesome entertainment. We really appreciate everybody. You guys make this so much fun. And we will see you in the new year.